Evening, lads. Thanks very much, man, for coming on. Just recording a short pod tonight on the St. Joseph's annual Coaching Education Day. Just give you a bit of a backstory, lads. We this is our 15th year. We started in a small classroom in Mourne in 2009. Great John Morrison, the great late John Morrison, was one of the very first presenters that actually presented that today. And since then, obviously, we've gone on to produce some brilliant numbers, including there was over 400 coaches at our day last year. We started off at 57 15 years ago, and it just grew annually. And the day was more or less an idea of myself and the school, and we thought it would be a good fundraiser, and it gathered momentum as the years went on. And listen, we're absolutely delighted to have you this year, and I'd just like to thank Damien McErlain there, Damien, James Horan, Kieran McGeary for coming on tonight. We're going to get the lads' insight into coach education, maybe a wee bit about their coaching philosophies and styles, and we'll chat about the day ahead. So really looking forward. So lads, first and foremost, thanks very very much for coming on, and thank you for actually agreeing to attend the Coach Education Day and presenting it. And as a school, we're very grateful. We're very grateful for that. Well, I suppose, Damien, if we start with yourself, obviously, it's a big thing in vogue, I suppose, now that young people are changing, the dynamics are changing. Myself and Kieran are teaching there as well, and we see the differences in young people now, Damien. I suppose like you had huge success with Derry, obviously, back to back Ulster and All Ireland team, absolutely phenomenal. But I suppose, Damien, one of the biggest challenges for any coach is actually making that connection with young players. And I suppose you're going to talk on the day a wee bit about the challenges that coaching young players brings. And we don't really want to know everything that you're going to say tonight, like, but from a coach education perspective, like, obviously attending coach education conferences, going to coach it, there's nothing, actually no substitute, Damien, for actually being on the front line with these young players, is there?
Nothing at all. I was like, I suppose it's funny. Like I started off coaching sort of under 16, what 2006 maybe or in around that date. But in recent years, obviously, I sort of was with our minor in the club for a number of years, etc., and still involved with them now at the minute. But over the last 4 years, first time actually had a wee lad involved. So like I've been sort of back to the coal face from sort of under six ends, and you get a full blown takes you right back to the basics of it all. In terms of how to, as you say, how to connect and how to actually coach, because you have to be able to break it down in their terms and very quick in very quick simple terms. And but the connection is massive, and I suppose that whole piece is getting a bit right between holding it firm and in terms of your communication, but being friendly and warm and letting them respond to that sort of way. So I don't think it actually changes from their 8 to their 18. It's a similar sort of piece. But I mean, over the course of that period of time, there's been massive changes in society and football itself. I mean, for me, there's more footballers about now than ever there was. Like, and the skill sets of lads and the work they put in, the shape that they're in, the extra, what you call it, their stuff is just absolutely serious in terms of their understanding of nutrition and the work that they need to do even just before you get to 17 and a minor panel. Like, so it's just incredible.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose, James, from your perspective, James, you obviously had two different stints with Mayo. Did you find, James, like, that players had changed? Did you find that the mentality had changed in any way, or how did you find that when you came back for the second time with Mayo, for example?
I think there was significant change, and I suppose there was a couple of factors in that. There was in 2019 when I came back, we'd 8 or 9 players that retired all at once. So very suddenly we'd a very young panel.
Yeah.
And I suppose then on top of that we had COVID and we'd everything else. So there was huge change within that. But I think at a simple level what Damien's saying is right. It's, to me, and coaching for me is you got to involve guys to engage guys, and to engage guys now or have them involved, it needs to be an environment that's enjoyable. They need to be part of it. They need to be involved in the decision making around it and how things are shaped. Obviously, within that there's standards and there's stuff that you kind of do. But I think that was the biggest thing I noticed is involving the players, and even the language that are needed to use. I would say was different the second time round. So society's changing, people are changing, expectations are changing, and motivations are changing. So as a coach, I think you need to try and take all that into account, and then get your philosophy or your message across in a way that can be best interpreted by the people, the players that you have. So that's an ongoing sort of dynamic for a coach, and a skill that you got to be trying to develop all the time. Just the awareness of reading the room and knowing, is the message landing or not with the group of people that you have. So certainly the second time it was involved. I was much more aware that the first time round it was new to a lot of players, and it was maybe more directive than the second time. So yeah, it's an evolving and moving feat for sure.
And Kieran, I suppose yourself as well, you're teaching, you see how things, like, it's a completely different world now, really. The whole social media thing is a massive craze, but you're probably one of the more experienced members of the Throne panel, like, and what changes have you seen in young people? I suppose maybe you being a teacher as well obviously helps, Kieran, when it comes to coaching, because you're dealing with a day-to-day nature, and every year you see a different sort of caliber of student with a different sort of mindset. And how do you like sort of evolve your coaching around that, like?
I'm no expert, so I'm not into coaching. I'm actually only starting to maybe scratch the surface myself, Stevie. But like I'll pick up plenty from both James and Damien and yourself the day that I'm down, and that's what I'm all about, picking up the wee nuggets, I suppose, from a school setting. As James alluded to, you're always trying to make it enjoyable, so you are, make it inclusive but make it challenging at the same time. And just, the differences now in coaching is crazy. How organised the coach has to be to deliver a good session, because players from no age now aren't naive to the fact of whether a session was good or not, where they've learned something from it. Some will even be confident enough in saying this isn't making any sense, or why are we doing this? So you really have to be tuned. It's not a matter of throwing a ball in anymore and just play away. There has to be a reason as to why you're doing something. Training sessions are getting faster. Don't get me wrong, there's obviously the training sessions where it's very much stop-start, and there has to be a learning element to it, and there might be a walking phase, but you enjoy now seeing what I especially do in school settings, and even being down with Portnoe this year. I love the fact of when you put something out in the training field and you work on it repetitively, and you can alter it and change it to suit the players and how they like to play. And then when it comes off in the game, it's fantastic. So it's continuing to change. Coaching for me now, from growing up at even say under 16 level, has changed incredibly. So it has the level of detail involved in it, but again, the level of fun involved in it, and small-sided games and different things. So it continues to change, and I'm actually excited about how the new rules will evolve training even more so, because I think there's a chance now for every county to sort of wipe the slate clean, and what can we do to get ahead? What can every team do now to get that wee nugget to get them ahead? So it's all positive.
Yeah, and obviously being in a high performance environment, Kieran, that yourself for so many years, I'm sure the coaches that you've played under and the managers you've played under has helped shape you as a coach who's starting on his journey. And I've obviously been fortunate to see you coaching 2 or 3 times, and I know you're gonna be a brilliant coach, and that certainly has probably helped you, like.
Oh, Stevie, massively. Every team I seem to be involved with, and I'm lucky to be involved with, the coaching setups just seem to get better and better and better all the time. And I have nothing but thanks for all the coaches that have ever taken me, because they've been part of the journey in any success that I've been lucky enough to have. Whether it be from secondary school with Peter Canavan, or St Mary's University with Paddy Talley, till the Tyrone setups with Joe McMahon and Pete Donnelly, and it doesn't become much better than that. So obviously they all play their part in the journey, and for myself now at this early stage of my coaching career, to be part of any young lads or young girls' journeys, quite incredible too.
Yeah, brilliant. And Damien, I suppose it's you're sitting in a very privileged position, having won back-to-back Ulster and All-Ireland titles, but there's dark days in coaching too, and like we were talking about this today in school, for example, like Kilcoo have won 12 of the last 13 championships in Down. So is every other coach in Down at club level a failure over the last 12 or 13 years, or have they improved their teams, or have they, measuring success obviously for different clubs, different counties is completely different. But like dealing with adversity, Damien, as a coach, like, how, like, any advice you would have for coaches out there, club coaches, coaches that are starting on their journey, coaches that are more experienced, like any ways in which you deal with adversity?
Well, look, there's been plenty of it over the years, and we've had real good days and tough days too. Like, but it depends on the scenario. It depends on the situation. What Kieran's saying there, just about the quality of coaching setups, and there's probably more good coaches about than ever there was too. Thing is, nearly, if a coach and a successful manager previously has a bad time in a role, sometimes it's just not the right fit. I always think that sometimes time is a big thing about managers getting a group at the right time. He was sort of the right personality for them. He had it at the right time, and they got a wee bit of momentum with it. And the next thing, they've got a positive 2 or 3 seasons. And then if you don't get the success in that 2 or 3, 4 years, you either need to be sort of top man, freshening things up really drastically in terms of just angle on the coaching, or you need to be actually, probably moving on. You're some man if you can sort of get past 3 years now in any job, in the sense of, you players are putting so much in that now that they want, they want success, or they want progression, or they want to feel that they're actually, we're onto something here, at least. And if you lose that, or you lose the dressing room, like, you're better reading the room, as James talked about, even with players earlier on, to see if the messages are landing. And if they stop landing for you, you're in a tricky situation. So just like when you're in the middle of a season, getting your messages to land, knowing the time is to, I suppose, move on or change the thing up big time. Not all that is the players themselves. If you've got a group there who have great faith in you, and you have faith in them, there's real trust in the group, you can work through it yourself. You can, the best time, getting beat or getting a real tight defeat when you're not gone, if you're actually totally out of it, that's a bit like the back door piece. Once you get that wind at it, the teams that can get it right and go on a run at that point, when they've all had to come together and bring their own ideas together, they're the ones that can get real traction and maybe produce something they mightn't have produced if they hadn't had that sort of defeat at the right time and all that way.
Yeah, and learning from obviously defeats, like, if it's not, I always say it's not a defeat if you learn from it, and obviously as a coach, you're probably going to learn more, Damien, from your bad days, aren't you? Like,
you're talking about the minors there, but we had won three Ulster titles previously, minors, and each year we were beating the Ulster minor league final.
Yeah.
And I off the pitch sort of frustrated, but then going, "This is great. I have them now." Have them in my hand, because they're a bit to a point there, and they see. I always think lads at 18, 17, 18 don't really take you on until maybe you've been beat. And a team that wins a minor title or a Curry title, who everybody's been talking about going into it, and they still deliver, they are, because they have had the favourites and all the rest, where they didn't even get a chance to get knocked back and realise, geez, we could be beat here. And it takes some mentality to do that,
Yeah. And I suppose, James, I don't think there's any person in the whole country outside of Dublin that would have begrudged you, man, an All-Ireland title. Like, and I suppose from your own perspective, James, as a coach, like how difficult was that to just keep coming back? Like some of those defeats, obviously you probably are still heartbroken over them, but from a coaching perspective, James, or a manager's perspective, like could you give us an insight into your role in lifting players and bringing, and surely even lifting yourself, James, as well? I'm sure you had to drag yourself at times and to really go again,
Yeah, well, no, I wouldn't be still heartbroken. No, I move on from things very quickly, Stevie. Life's too short. But I suppose it goes back to your philosophy as a coach, and what I'd always be about is about growing people. Developing people. And every time we played, whether we won or lost, we were looking to develop, we were looking to improve, we were looking to do certain things, and we carried that through every game, whether we won or lost. And we won big games and we lost big games, but through each of those, we were looking to get better and do certain things in each game. And after a win, we'd analyse it. We'd do a hot review. We'd see what we did well. Did we do what we said we'd do? What could we improve on? For the next time, we'd bring that into the training on the Tuesday night. And it'd be the same if it was the last game of the year. We'd do exactly the same thing. So we had that all the time, no matter what. We were looking to take learnings from it and develop and grow and move on. And that's the way, whether it's under 16, under 14, under 12, or seniors. That, you mentioned success and earlier on, Damien was talking about it. It's how you define success and what it is. A junior team in a county is never ever going to beat the senior team in the county. But yet the junior team could develop more and have better growth mindset than the senior team. So it's how you define your success and what it is that you're working at and what your philosophy is. So if you stay strong to that was very easy. Any game, any result was an opportunity to learn more and grow.
Yeah, very good. And James, was there any particular coach that would have shaped you, as a coach? Is there anyone that would have had a big influence on you?
Yeah, loads, good and bad. I think if you come up through and maybe not for Kieran, but certainly back in my time when I started off, coaching was, I don't think there was any coaching really. There was people in charge of teams. Yeah. So I don't know what the level of coaching was then, but it was. So I had some very good people that were just brilliant people that were helping young fellas play a game of football. So I took an awful lot from them, even though they didn't do coaching per se on the field. Yeah. And then there was other guys, we had very regimental guys that trained you like a dog, so you take some things from that and you take other things that you wouldn't do as a coach. So there's huge learnings and all that, but I love all sports and I was over a hurling team in Galway for a while. I shoot every year up to Leinster for a couple of days, up to Connacht Rugby for a couple of days, and just stole or borrowed or took whatever ideas, what worked for them, what didn't, and took them and used them as well. And obviously look at Nick Sabian and all the guys in the States that have been so successful and trying to get what it is that they do that would help with the style of approach of coaching that you have. So all those things all the time. And sure, coaching is self-discovery, really, isn't it? You're learning all the time. You're taking things all the time, and you're learning every time you take a coaching session. You jot down the pros and cons of what you did, and maybe get someone to check in on how you did, and try and be better for the next coaching session. So that it's an ongoing cycle all the time, but constantly learning. Yeah. And I suppose, Kieran, on that, like constantly learning, James talks about, I remember one year being over in Edinburgh and just randomly going to Tynecastle and knocking the door of the reception and said, our heart's training anywhere. And the lady says they're training in Harriet Watt University. Says, you might get in tomorrow morning, and just went up and watched the session, and there was nobody asked me any questions or whatever. And you pick wee things up, Kieran, all the time. Obviously, through as James says, you're non-stop learning. But I suppose from an Ulster perspective, and I'm probably sounding a wee bit partisan here, but there does seem to be a serious appetite and thirst and hunger for coach education in the north of the county, Kieran. And would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I even know from ourselves, we're looking for a new senior manager ourselves, and so difficult to come by one that we want. I think there's loads of teams in Tyrone at the minute that are searching for a good manager and a good coach, and then that obviously pushes every team to want to go the same direction. Nobody's happy now with a mid-table finish to their season. Everybody wants to finish top, and coaching is so important for that. I think teams are very much aware now of how important your coach is in terms of what you're doing. Star drills and diagonal hand pass and stuff is only going to get you so far. And from watching it, you could pick up things on any of these Ulster games that are on the TV at the minute. You can pick up what teams are really good at, what they have worked on, whether it's fast transition or whether it's a nice block in defence, or whether it's winning an aerial battle in midfield. You can pick up after 15 minutes what teams have really worked on, what they're really good at, and how they're dominating in games. So there's a massive appetite for coaching in Ulster. I think and I seen that photo actually. It popped up the other day on Twitter where it showed a domination from like Ulster teams in colleges and in schools and an inter-county level, and you know, maybe that's part and parcel of a coaching in Ulster at the moment, which is unbelievable. It shows the competition there and the level of appetite between players. But as I say, players now are, I know myself, that you're dedicating so much time to it, and therefore coaches are very aware of that. So they're making sure that any night that you're out in the pitch or wherever you're at, that the level of what they're delivering to you is top standard. You know, even the use of their language now is clear. It's concise. There's no bullshit talk anymore. It's all very defined, exactly what they want. Coaches that I have been under aren't afraid to blow a whistle during a drill and bring you right back in and say, no, you're not doing that exactly how I want it to be done. This will be the benefits of it, you know. So there's a massive appetite there, and you can see it, so you can.
Yeah, and brilliant, Kieran, and Damien. I suppose like if there was a young coach, and we have a very very diverse range of coaches, Damien, on the day. We'll have coaches that coach at senior and the county level will be in the room. I know like Kieran's own, the current manager, Tyrone Malachy. Malachy would have been a regular attender of our days. Kieran Mina would never have missed one of our days. You know, these are some of the top coaches in the country, which shows you the importance that they place on coach education. I suppose, Damien, if you were to say to a young coach that was going to be in that room on the day, or maybe a coach who's only starting on his journey, like, you know, what advice would you give them, even if it comes to like the likes of coach education? What sort of advice would you be giving them?
Coach education, you know, you'll go to any coaching course. Doesn't matter if you've been to, say you did level one coach, you went to it again the next year, you'll pick up so much. You know, as James said, you're picking up all the time, and every night, like when I run sessions at county minor level, of Gavin McGeegan there, Anton Moore, with Murdo O'Brien or two, but every night hanging out on a pitch and just taking more in, watching it as we go. Somebody asked me yesterday WhatsApp if there was a coach education piece presented to you in a club or a county setting, what would you ask for if you were given the opportunity to ask for? I still think there's a place for nearly like an apprenticeship of a lad who's maybe just finished playing club, that's sort of started to take maybe a club under 16 team or something like that. That he pairs up with somebody who operates at a really high level, learns from over the course. You know, pick up nuggets here, nuggets there. A lot of it comes from Anthem as a player, a bit like Kieran's in a perfect position where he's coming out of setups and he's still playing, so he's actually involved in sessions and field, understands the drills and understands what was difficult for him to understand in a drill or a game or whatever, and sort of nearly make sure that that's used whenever they're getting it to the lads that the group you're working with. But from that point of view, learning that, you do get a bit of a message coming out of your playing time to do it. But all outside of that, for me, I think there's a piece for you. Say somebody says to you, Kieran, 3 years ago, Kieran, one time and you weren't playing or you weren't doing nothing else. You know, you hook in Paddy Talley in his session and he's taking X club or X county or whatever at that time, and you know, you work with them and you see the whole mix, like, because there's different things, you know, it doesn't matter, there's different things you're working on over, whether it be kickouts, whether it be transition, whether it be the real technical piece of the tackling and the quality of the tackling. You know, I remember back to when Kieran was with me in Derry, just the sort of the breaking and the improvement and just on that piece and the improvement, well, just because of that focus. I think that's something that could be looked at. You know, management teams need to be supposed well, say a young coach or whatever, and bring them along into their setup and trust them.
Yeah, brilliant. Like, I know, James, obviously I would always have a great time for your own analysis of the game. Like, and I suppose I was listening to a podcast the other day. I think it was the Stick to Football podcast. David Moyes was actually on it, and you know, he talked about his time at Man United, how unsuccessful it was. It was obviously a dead job for him replacing Ferguson, but he had a really successful period at West Ham, Europe 3 years out of 4. But he said he used to spend an awful lot of time watching football, James, away from his coaching, you know, and he says the stuff he would have picked up, maybe he would have seen a new corner kick routine, he would have seen maybe a set piece routine, something that might have just maybe just gone away and thought, yeah, you know. And I suppose, James, from a footballer perspective, like when you're watching a game as a coach, are you watching it in a sort of an analytical way? Are you watching it for enjoyment? Like what way do you see a game when you're watching it?
I think so. Yeah, like if you're a coach and you're working with the team and there's certain things you're working on, you know, your kick out routine or your second phase play from the kick out or whatever it is, you'll definitely watch the game nearly through that lens, or any game that you're watching, to see what opposition are doing, how they're going about it. You know, are they successful or are they vulnerable? You know, based on what you're trying to do. So you'll look at it through maybe the lens of a lot of what you're doing, but equally, there'll definitely be, there's other teams doing things better than what you're doing, or maybe they have an emphasis on certain things that you weren't putting an emphasis on. So you can definitely take things away like that, little nuggets like that you might use or might work on next in your training program. So as Kieran said earlier, there's teams and there's doing things really well. So as a coach, there's no shame whatsoever in robbing ideas or taking ideas and sort of tailoring them to suit the team or the group of guys that you have.
Yeah.
And using that. So you're constantly, well, I find constantly on the lookout, and not alone. Like, I'm a huge Liverpool fan. I love the way Liverpool press pretty much every kick out they do for 90 minutes, and how they do that. And you know that there's only 10 outfield players, and how they can cover the range of the pitch and all that kind of stuff. And there's a huge amount Gaelic, or maybe the team that you're coaching can learn from some of the things that other sports do, that do really well, way better and way more organised than we are, say, in Gaelic. So it's a constant sort of learning where you're looking for ideas and suggestions, and they're all around you in every sport.
Yeah, I'm a Man United fan, James, and I just like to see the players run.
Wow.
Never mind pressing, just run.
Yeah,
just please run. But no, but James, listen, you know, brilliant insights again tonight, and obviously on the day, you're going to be talking about behaviours associated with a high performance environment, and obviously, you know, the experience and the time you've had with Mayo will be invaluable, and we're really looking forward to that. We don't want any insights into that tonight. We want to keep that for the day. But any appetite, James, to get back involved at intercounty level yourself, or are you happy with your time away from it?
I'm to be honest, need a break. Just recharge, get the energy back, and again, as you were saying there, intercounty now is, and you're gonna find it out, CV. But intercounty is, it's every minute of every day, pretty much. It's full on. The expectations of players and of counties and of the public is huge. So it's very demanding now. It's thrilling and exciting, but it's very, very demanding, and you need to be in full health, fully charged, with strong motivation. So I'm just taking a breather at the moment and happy with that. I have a girl playing under 16. I'm sort of in the background with the Mayo under 20s, just doing a bit of work there, and where I'm working with a few teams just in the background. So I'm enjoying that, and look, it's still learning.
Brilliant, James, and we're really looking forward to you presenting on the day. And I suppose, Kieran, your session on the pitch is transition with pace and purpose. And I suppose when we're looking at the new rules, you know, there's obviously going to be a huge appetite for people to see that, obviously. And I as I say, I've seen you coaching before, and we don't want you to give away all the ideas tonight about what you're doing, but certainly a massive part of the game, Kieran, at the minute. That transition is going to be huge now in the new rules.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no team out there that doesn't have three killer inside forwards, and if the right pass can be played into them, and the right break made out of defence after a turnover or after a short or shot check short or whatever, you know, that's where teams will now put a massive emphasis on getting scores, and heavy scores at that, you know, whether it be a goal directly or whether it be a point. But no, it'll be a bit on Stevie on decision making. Transition with a seamless flow, being able to make the right decision. You know, not every pass will have to be forward. You talk about transitioning there into different sports. There was one year in particular up at Tyrone where we looked at how rugby lines were the big thing, you know. So coming at the right time off someone's shoulder, where it's sort of a half backwards pass, but it's giving someone momentum to head in the right direction for goal. And then obviously attacking space, that's going to be valuable for another pass forward.
Brilliant. And Damien, obviously yourself, you know, you're going to talk about challenges coaching young players. Am I right in saying you've moved up with this group to under 20? Is that right?
I
Brilliant. So I'm sure that's exciting in itself, Damien, to see the development and the progress in these lads and be part of their journey as well, you know.
I do surely. It's only getting it together now at the minute, like, but it is exciting. I mean, there's no doubt there's a good crop of players there, but I suppose on the day it'll be, you know, when you're asking about the challenge, you have to nearly take it from, when I start thinking about that, I really start taking it from clubs and club structures and how they're coached at that level, because that's where it starts. I mean, Derry's had a bit of a wave there of good many teams, but it starts sort of with the clubs and the work that's going on there. And then they're hitting schools now, and the schools are well organised and all that type of thing. So from a culture point of view as well, the quality of the coaching mindset, you know, and the parents and the drive at home is savage as well, in terms of, I always keep talking about the dinner table, like, been seriously important in terms of the right messages and stuff. And of course, just the whole encompassing piece, the life that the lads have to lead now, how busy it is, the amount of opportunities they have, building themselves athletically, something that, geez, we never were anywhere near. And everything else that goes with that, you know. And
yeah,
Kieran touched on there, just, you know, that's the expectation from 6 or 8 years of age. The lads what a good, like, you know what I mean, 100%. So that there. So I'm touching sort of the personal side and the football side. I think just
Brilliant, Damien. Lads, I'm really looking forward to having the level of knowledge and coaching brains in the room on Saturday the 30th of November in St Joseph's School in Newry, 10 a.m. start. And I know we've had a fantastic interest so far, big numbers coming again, which is brilliant. And as a school, we're delighted that you're involved, man. And I just want to thank you for your time this evening, and look forward to seeing you on the 30th. Thanks very much, lads. Thanks, James, Damien, Kieran. Thank you, lads.
No problem, Stevie. Take care.
Thanks, man. Thanks.